Hi, my name is Kate Ray. I'm a participant in the Praxis Boot Camp, currently in week 1 of Module 4, which is Philosophy Month. Each week we're given a list of different mediums of content that we must consume, and at the end of the week we get to create a video discussing the content we learned, and then we get to apply it to our own philosophical beliefs and opinions and argue different points of view. So first, I'm going to ask you to think about the following 2 questions throughout my entire video. What is philosophy, and do you consider yourself to be a philosopher? So one of the articles we read was based on a podcast that we listened to, Philosophy Bites, where the hosts interviewed different philosophers on their definition of what philosophy is. Instead of a general consensus, the answers they received were all over the spectrum and included a wide range of criteria that would make something philosophy. So what is philosophy? Basically anything you want it to be. You can philosophize about anything in which you can question the nature, essence, or meaning of the thing. The definition of philosophy is extremely vague. Even to this day, it used to be science, now it's just changing, and you can interpret it multiple ways. So there's more than one right answer, which is what makes philosophy so fun and complex. What kind of value does philosophy hold in your life now? Do you value philosophy at all? I hope by the end of this that you do, because it's really important, and I think you'll understand through doing the thought processes and the questioning. So here's my definition of philosophy, the right definition, but what I've come to understand it now after consuming that content. I thought I knew what it was before, and now I'm changing my definition slightly. But here is mine. You don't have to agree with it, but you're going to give me 5 minutes, as Jason Fried says, and let it sink in. Philosophy is not for or against, agree or disagree, yes or no. Philosophy is the study of all possibilities to a realistic or hypothetical example, experience that exists outside of what we would usually think of, which is usually agree with or disagree with. Philosophy encompasses all those views, but it also includes the study of all other possibilities and answers, ways to look at a moral conflict or situation in an objective way, and weighing the options on a cost-benefit analysis. So, you heard my definition. Did you find yourself feeling an opinion forming in your gut? Maybe it was an emotional reaction guarding your beliefs. Maybe it was, wow, that is not the definition of philosophy. Are you agreeing or disagreeing? All of that is you asserting a philosophical belief. You are forming a philosophical opinion. You are technically a philosopher for having that opinion on that topic. The second article that I want to talk about is called The Work Required to Have an Opinion, which basically takes all that, your opinion, and then it says you only get to choose that opinion and argue that opinion if you do the work to hold it, to back it up, to know all of the ways you're going to be attacked on it and questioned on it. The author begins with a quote from Charlie Munger. His definition here: you're not entitled to take a view unless and until you can argue better against that view than the smartest guy who holds the opposite view. If you can argue better than the smartest person who holds the opposite view, that is when you are entitled to hold a certain view. You got to think emotionally, not rationally, and then be honest with yourself about your biases and incentives and different assumptions you have. You have to become your most intelligent critic. You're going to have to kill some of your ideas. You're going to have to accept that some of the stuff you believed for forever that was right is now wrong. And only after you've done all that work and that research and exhausted all possible options and argued all sides, then you have the right to hold the opinion. You have the right to argue it against others, and you have backup for it. It's easy to dismiss the ideas that you don't or unwilling to understand. It's hard to do the work. It's hard to argue both sides. It's hard to look at something objectively. It's hard to walk in your opponent's shoes. It's hard to understand why they do what they do. It's hard to have an opinion. So here's my Charlie Munger call to action. Would you put in the time to do the research it takes to have an opinion according to his definition? Do you think it's easier not to have an opinion in regards to his definition? So keeping those two ideas in mind, the definition and how you can come up with an opinion, I'm getting to the main piece of content that I found to be the most provocative and one of the most discussed in our group meetings. It was a recording of a lecture titled "You Have No Idea How Wrong You Are." Can you guess what it's about? The lecturer's main thesis can be summed up as human beings are the species that got it wrong. We're the species that make the most mistakes. We're the species that gets it wrong more often than we get it right. So here's my opinion on that. And the biggest takeaway, again, feel free to disagree, but as Jason Fried says, give it 5 minutes. So during all the discussions I had with our group for the Praxis Bootcamp, I came to understand that a majority of the people disagreed with the video and that their argument was he's being too hard on human beings. We're only human. And we shouldn't be so hard on ourselves, like we get it wrong, we're gonna get it wrong in the future, everything we do is gonna be wrong, it's gonna be wrong. Because you start thinking about that, you'll come down to the point where it's like, if everything's going to be wrong, what is the point in asking the question? What is the point in trying different things? And that's not the point that he's trying to make. He's not trying to discourage us. I think his charismatic deliverance of the speech was what made the point hit home. Because I believe there's a deeper point overall from that entire experience of the lecture. I think the dramatics behind it were a part of what he was trying to explain. Because he aroused like disagreement and agreement and emotions in the crowd. Everybody who watched that piece of content had an opinion on it, and you could hear the passion behind it. Mostly being protective of our own race. I think that's where a lot of the disagreements will stem from. It's just like that immediate gut feeling like he's attacking our kind or whatever. So it brings awareness to the irrational fear we have of being wrong, which was instilled in us as kids when people would laugh at you on the playground when you were wrong or did something wrong or asked a dumb question. But being wrong isn't something you should be laughed at or made fun of for. With every wrong you get, you're one step closer to being right. We will be wrong. We have in the past. We'll continue to be wrong. But we need to get used to it. Become comfortable with it. If you can brush off your wrongs and then go into your idea zone with like tabula rasa, you are more powerful and intelligent than the people who don't even come up with ideas or opinions that are wrong. So ultimately, we need to become comfortable with being wrong. And you need to become comfortable with people questioning your beliefs and challenging them. You need to expect that you'll be challenged and have your information and your facts and your examples to back it up when it happens. I'm wrong a lot of the time. It took me a while to realize that because obviously as a teenager I was right all the time. But I'm no longer embarrassed when I'm wrong. I just ask the dumb question. So somebody goes, "You don't know who the quarterback on the Patriots is?" Like, oh my God, ha ha ha, how do you not know that? You're so dumb. And then I'm like, okay, who is it? Tom Brady. Okay, now I know. And when you know, you know. One example I can think of that came to mind was the whole debacle with Pluto being a planet. When I learned the solar system, like for a couple of years, Pluto was the ninth and smallest final planet in our solar system. And it was a huge disruption to my elementary school self when we heard that Pluto was now not considered a planet because it didn't meet all the criteria anymore after they got new evidence and research from from the not planet Pluto. So we got it wrong. It wasn't a planet. Then again, that's relative to our definition of what a planet is. Then again, Pluto could evolve, and who knows, maybe in the future it'll fit the criteria and we'll say, wait, it's a planet now. It's matured into a planet or some futuristic thing. Humans got it wrong. Maybe we'll be saying, okay, going back on it. But I'm here to say that's okay. You're allowed to be wrong. You're allowed to be wrong. It's okay. And I think he could have said it in a nicer way, but I think he was trying to really drive home this point, trying to get you to think about it. Think about, like, when we're wrong, and then argue against him. Be like, you know what? No. Human beings are awesome despite being wrong. We're the most intelligent species that has come about the planet so far. We're the only people. We do everything differently. We were a new era for Earth. So that's my view. Now I challenge you to prove the entire opinion wrong. Tell me my interpretation is wrong. Tell me I don't understand what I was watching. Maybe I found subliminal meanings between the lines that aren't really there. Challenge my belief with your own reasons and examples. Come at me. Find the weakness. Win me to your way of thinking. Show me how your opinion is the right one and why mine is the wrong. And then you need to tell me why I should even believe your opinion or believe you. Why should I consider your point of view? Who are you relative to me? So I'll leave you with the same two questions I began with. After learning the content, what does philosophy mean to you now? Given that experience, do you consider yourself to be a philosopher? Keep this in mind when answering the last question. I'll make it more complicated. You were trying to show me why your view is right and mine is wrong. But why should I believe you or even consider that point of view? Are you a philosopher or are you not? Is the answer more complicated than just yes or no? Are you rethinking my definition of philosophy now? That is philosophical questioning.